and welcome to The Truth Will Not Be Silenced, the show that allows Black people to be seen, to be heard, and to be human. I'm your host, Melissa Woodfork-White. In today's episode, we will talk about modern day lynching with activist James Ladd. We'll discuss the controversial topic of modern day lynching and marching for justice that need to be shared, that allows us to be seen, to be heard, and to be human. As a Black professional woman with over 28 years in the workforce, I have personally contributed to the March for Justice, and this is due to the color of my skin. Sharing our stories allows us to be seen, to be heard, and to be human. There will be a special surprise at the end of the show. Be sure to listen all the way through for details. Our guest today is none other than activist James Ladd. James is a native of Cleveland, Ohio, who graduated from the prestigious Howard University in Washington, D.C. in 1999 with a Bachelor's of Science in Communications. He was a contestant on MasterChef Season 4. He is a community activist, chef, scholar, business owner, father, and friend. He is passionate about community activism. James is going to share with us his work as a community activist marching for justice to end modern day lynching. Hi, James. Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa, and thank you for allowing me to share my voice with you and others. I am truly honored.
Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and jump right into it. What is modern day lynching and why the need to march for justice?
Well, modern day lynching is really nothing more than the continuation of the heinous racist practices of some members of this country that have just continued. So I don't even like to think of a modern lynching or historical lynching because as we talk today, you'll definitely see there isn't a year that lynchings have stopped for Black people in this country. I would love to know the year, but there isn't a year that they stopped. We've turned the century, but that has not changed. It's gotten better. It has not changed.
Yes. And the need for the March for Justice.
The need for the March to Justice is to get justice, or at least start. Let me go back on that. Let me go back on that. At least start the chance for justice for this young 29-year-old Jamaican immigrant, Peter Bernard Spencer. I want everyone to say his name, Peter Bernard Spencer. That is only 29. He's a father to be. He was pretty much just about to complete his CDL. He had a lot to live for. Much like me, he was a chef. He liked cooking with his mom. I'm sure his favorite thing, I won't go on, but I'm sure he cooked a mean jerk chicken. I did see his dad and his mom's interview. They look like outstanding people. But this case is just so tragic in so many ways, particularly in its lack of justice or its lack of ability to even start the process for us. We can't guarantee we're going to get justice for this family, unfortunately, but I do want to at least start the wheels of justice turning and know that we'll be there until. So pretty much the facts of this case are that you have this young Jamaican man, 29 years old, a father to be. He gets invited to a hunting trip. He's an avid outdoorsman. He goes with 3 white co-workers out to a rural spot in Pennsylvania, Venango County. Get used to saying it. You'll see me soon, Venango County. But this man goes out there with his white co-workers. And the only reports that we really know about the case are according to ABC, who released this. The police arrive at 2:30 a.m. in the morning and find his body riddled with bullets in the front yard. That happened December 12th, which is my mom's birthday. That's when I really first started paying attention to the case. It's been pretty much already 2 months, depending on when this airs, when you're seeing this, when you're reading this. Nothing has happened yet as far as obtaining justice for this man, his family, his kids, his future. And that is unacceptable.
Well, I just want to say that I'm very familiar with this case. And from the news sources, news outlets, and I haven't seen anything being done to bring about justice. From what I've read, NBC News, and have seen, is that there have been no arrests. There have been absolutely no arrests. So basically, you know, the police show up at this Caucasian residence, a Black man shot
Over 9
multiple
times.
times in
Over
the
9.
yard, and not one single arrest was made. I need for our listeners and our viewers to know that there has been no arrests.
Absolutely.
There has been nothing done to bring justice for this man. So with that being said, I want you to tell us, what does marching for justice look like as a community activist? Tell us what you are doing to bring about justice for this Black man, Peter Bernardo Spencer.
Well, before I even get to what I'm doing, I want to backtrack just a little bit, Melissa, and tell you just a little bit about the history of our Black History Month that we love to celebrate, and how that involved me, how that angered me.
Well, I'm just going to interrupt you for just a moment. Black History Month is not for us, because we celebrate Black history all 365 days of the year.
Absolutely.
And so I just wanted to just jump in there, and you know what? That is a fact. And if anybody wants to debate me or whatever, that is a fact. Black history was not created. I'm not going to even go there. I'm just going to say it's my opinion. I'm going to go politically correct on this one, you know, but it's my opinion.
Okay.
My opinion that Black History Month was not. I know the history, Carter G. Woodson. I know my history, but I'm just saying that Black history is celebrated 365 days of the year, and not just in 1 month. That's all I'm saying.
I will be
go ahead and we're going to go into
America's February history then. Does that matter? Let's go with some from America's February history.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, let's do that. February 14th, most of us are about to celebrate Valentine's, but if you have older parents and older grandmothers like I have, they will remember an infamous case that took place February 14th. The Reese Taylor case. Yeah. For those that don't remember at all, Reese Taylor was a beautiful Black woman who was raped by 6 white men. And she actually brought charges against them. But the white grand jury at the time refused prosecution. Is that it allowed the prevailing mindset of the time, if you grew up and you knew you were a beautiful woman, a group of white men could abduct you, rape you, harm you, you and your family. And even then, that is in 1945, they probably would not be prosecuted. We're going to move forward. The day that we are going to have this march, February 21st, is a day of infamy in Black history. In Glenn County, Georgia, there was one of the worst reported lynchings of all time. 2 Black men were shot over 1,000 times, hung from a tree, and made a spectacle of while people had a picnic. Now I'm going to show you.
I'm familiar with that one too.
Going to show you how that ties right in to where we are currently at. I want to say the 23rd of this same month. We haven't even left America's history in another month yet. Yep, February 23rd, 2020. You would have the case of Ahmaud Arbery.
Yes.
And guess where? Glenn County, Georgia. Same county. that a coincidence? And then the thing about it is, in a lot of these cases, particularly that one, and then I don't want to forget that, unfortunately, 5 days later would be the 10-year anniversary of Trayvon Martin being murdered by that punk George Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm.
So when you combine these things, some of them in the same counties,
In the same states,
in the same states,
in the same month.
in the same month. We haven't even, I don't have time to go in America's history of March atrocities, April atrocities. There is a company that does it. The Equal Justice Initiative does a great job. I have the calendar right behind me so that our history isn't whitewashed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, particularly in this country, I'm not perfect. You know, people kind of love to judge. And we incarcerate more people than anywhere else in the world.
Yes, that is a fact.
I've made mistakes before. I made pretty much one mistake before. Okay, let's keep it real. America has made these same mistakes for hundreds of years.
For centuries. Yeah.
So that is my problem when cases like this aren't taken with the seriousness that they deserve.
Yes.
This case appears to not have any seriousness to it. That is appalling.
Now that reminds me of the NAACP's definition of modern day lynching, which is defined as the public killing of an individual who has not received any due process. And this has been going on for centuries.
Absolutely. So really, under that same definition, I want people to know that, man, there's been so many atrocities right now, his name slips in my mind. Wow. And that's sad. That's sad. That's really a sad statement.
Yeah, it's so many. It's just so many. So tell us.
George Floyd.
Yes.
George Floyd was a lynching.
Mm-hmm.
The officers who are now being tried for their conspiracy acted as though people acted back in the day during a lynching. Mm-hmm. They did nothing. Mm-hmm. They continued on their job. They looked the other way. I remember something you said last week that really stood out to me, you and your guests, and helped get my movement going, which we'll talk about a little later, was I didn't want to be complicit in my quietness anymore.
Nice. And just for our listeners and our viewers, James is referring to our episode 2 with Rosalind, with Roz, on racial justice. She's an attorney.
Absolutely. You beautiful ladies definitely did a good job on covering that topic, and I wanted to commend Roz as well.
Thank you.
Because like I said, without your voice, maybe without that, I know not only my voice is a little louder now, but I'm sure a lot of voices are louder now, and that's definitely a good thing.
That's our whole platform, to be seen, to be heard, to be human. But I want you to tell our listeners and viewers about the march that you are organizing on behalf of seeking that justice for Peter Bernardo Spencer.
Okay, this is what I am doing. I am calling out, seeking help. I've been a middleman to this. For those that don't know, we were going to have something personally the 14th of February, but after getting in contact with the attorney, Paul Jubis, who's going to be making a statement on the 21st at noon, we decided to wait a week and organize even further. And that has been the biggest blessing. So what I am doing, we have a bus leaving from Whitney Young High School in Cleveland. I guess that's a junior high school, excuse me. Everyone knows where it's at. It's right on Harvard. But it has grown much bigger than that because it's not about me. That's why I told you we almost argued how much I want to talk about myself. It is so not about me. It is about getting justice, or at least starting the wheels of justice for this man. So as I've reached out to people, what we are doing, you can reach out to me at J, the letter J, moves people, MOVESPEOPLE.com. A number of people have either donated their time, their resources, their energy, and all I am in this really is a middleman. If you need a ride to this so your voice can be heard, give me a call. If you are within 6 hours of this man's murder, so I want to tell y'all where it's at. It's a little bit north of Pittsburgh. That means you can get there in 6 hours from Detroit. I expect to see Detroit there, Chicago, obviously all parts of Ohio, pretty much all parts of Pennsylvania, even right down to our campus at DC at Howard University, 6 hours away. Very easy to get there. So my organization is trying to help people within that 6 hour time frame get anything that you need to get there, be it a bus ride, be it food, because, oh yeah, we are also economically boycotting this county. I have not seen any business owners there speak out in this man's behalf. So even though I may plan on bringing however many people we bring, I do not want a single dollar spent in Venango County by a Black person that day. So with that being said, there have been a lot of chefs. Oh, we're going to eat well. Don't worry about it. I understand how to get people places. So if you tell me what I'd like you to do in the email, send me where you are, send me either what you're trying to donate your time or what you need, and we will get it to the appropriate people so that you all can meet up the day of the march. Be it you need signage, you need food, you need even a ride. Some beautiful brothers who do not want credit for anything are helping and have agreed to come through if people show up and show out in the ways that we need to for this case, and can get you there on their own dime as far as DC if need be, because God is good. That's just how it's been.
Amen.
So
well, I want all of our listeners and our viewers to know that you are organizing a march for justice for Peter Bernardo Spencer. You are also calling for people to boycott the businesses there because they have not spoken out of the injustice that has taken place there. And then you are also letting our listeners and viewers know that if they need any type of assistance, to reach out to you and your organization who are organizing this March for Justice for Peter Bernardo Spencer, to reach on out to you and to be a part of this. My way of being a part of this is by getting you on this show and getting your voice heard.
Absolutely.
So that everybody knows what's going on, so that they can bring an end to this modern day lynching. You know, this has got to stop. You know, Black people being murdered, lynched, and nothing being done about it. No justice, no peace. And so with that being said, I want to commend you for the work that you're doing. I want to commend you for organizing this much needed event to bring about this much needed change. And I also want you to share with our listeners and viewers, how has this modern day lynching affected you? Why is this so personal to you?
That's actually a great question, Melissa. Because trust me, as you hear, I'm busy. I had better stuff to do. I won't say better, but I had a life before this, and the anger, the hurt that I feel, I want people to know personally where this is in relation to my family experience in Pennsylvania. My family through marriage does own land not too far from where this takes place. So if you are watching and you know who you are and you've been to one of our family reunions in Pennsylvania, middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. I'll say that, yes. So you know exactly what we're talking about. Then yes, this only takes place maybe 30 minutes up the road, maybe a little bit off of I-80. Way too close, way too personal. This could have been any one of my relatives on the way home. And it's not even like I wish I could demand justice for this man's family. But I'm just going to start the wheels of justice, hopefully. And hopefully we will get justice for this man. But thus far, the amount of stonewalling, the lack of information on the case, I do think people, if you have not seen them, please go to attorney Paul Jubis on Twitter. He and the family have released some autopsy photos of this man, this murder, this atrocity.
And I just want to let our listeners and viewers know that I've seen these photos. So I'm just going to give you a disclaimer that they are very graphic. And so if it doesn't touch you in a way that you want to do something about it, then it should. And that's just, when I saw the photos, I was like, this is somebody's child. This is somebody's future dad. This is
future dad.
This is,
imagine that. You know how I love my
children. My goodness.
Future dad.
And when looking at those photos, I was like, I have to get you on this show to tell his story. I mean, it's personal. It's close to home for you. And so with that being said, how has recent events of modern day lynching changed how you interact with non-Black people?
Well, I'm angry, Melissa. I think I've technically always been angry. So when you asked about my interactions with like non-Black people, of course, I don't want to give a racist answer like, oh, I have white friends and I live here and I live there. Like I have 5 white friends, and no, I have 7 white friends.
Please don't do that. And I already told you that this is not the platform
not going to do that.
We are not giving
my white friends. I was not about to count.
We're not giving anybody any platform
okay,
for that. We're not doing that.
Okay, so we're not doing it. But what I will say is that I've noticed as a Black male of some modicum of success in this country, I'm really still only comfortable living amongst my own. You know where I choose to live, Melissa. Cleveland. There's not a lot of people who choose to live in Cleveland, but there is a special place of Cleveland. And the fact that you are, for the most part, if you go on the east side, because we were such a segregated city, you are amongst your own. If I wasn't living in Cleveland, probably my next favorite place on the world is Prince George's County, Maryland. Guess why? Once again, I'm more than likely living amongst my own. So when I hear people who are separationists and they say, oh, you shouldn't want to do this or do that, or you should, as long as we're keeping it real and honest, I see nothing wrong in that statement. You know, there is a comfort, there is a level of security. And then the other places, which is almost, I hate to admit it, I looked at some Black enclaves and people wanted to move and start their own towns, and there's some of that going on down south.
We're not gonna veer off on that one because we can go through the Rosewood.
Exactly.
Black Wall Street,
never ends well.
Oklahoma.
So that's why
we're not gonna get distracted.
You already know where I'm.
We got a rich history. Well. Make no mistake about it. We got a rich history.
Doesn't end well.
So, with that being said, when we're talking about your interactions and recent events of modern day racism, I want you to paint the picture for our listeners and for our viewers, how if the script was flipped.
Oh, I mean,
Bernardo Spencer was a white man.
I hate doing this.
And the 4 white individuals that were present at the time of shooting were Black people.
Okay, so we're going to do a social experiment with the facts, the actual facts of the case as police uncover them. And I'm going to name this social experiment the raise your hand, tweet, email, do what you need to do, stomp your feet if you think at this point you would be arrested that night. So just following the facts of the case. It's 2:30 a.m. If the police roll up to your residence, and me as a black man, I'm going to say a white man, but if you are watching as a white man, say a black man, please, is laying in your front yard, riddled with bullets, do you expect to go to jail tonight? That is the first evidence the police found. I'm going to go right in order. I started to make this easier for people and do them in reverse, but that's not the order they found things in this case. So the first thing they found was literally a body laying in the front yard. Just on that alone, am I going to jail, Melissa? Yes, I'm going to jail.
I'm just telling you right now that
in that scenario,
just on the first fact, me being a black woman and there being a white body riddled with bullets in my yard, I'm going to jail too because I'm black, and that victim in that yard who's been murdered is white. I'm going to jail, and everybody in the house is going to jail too. And I can guarantee you within 24 hours, we will be booked and charged
with something.
So just on that right there, James, just with right something. There, you're just right there right on that fact.
Let's continue.
I'm going to ask you, how does sharing your story today help others?
It shows the power of what we can do when we reach out. Everyone knows, for the most part, I probably like being alone more than anybody on the face of the earth. That's just me and my personality, and it always has been. I can play with my toys and my G.I. Joes by myself, so that's just it. That's me. However, one voice can only be so loud. One man can only do so much. Just like I said, this isn't my march. So I love people saying, Jay, you took the lead in this march, you're doing this. No. This is our march. So what this showed me when I started reaching out to people, that there were other people who had heard of the case, who were angered by the case, who had been following the case, who did want to do something. So that was like the initial group of people I had. And like I said, we were going on the 14th because it was the next day off I had. Once I really realized that nothing has happened to you. Mm. Next day off, hey, let's go do something. But then we were blessed to have time. The time allowed us to reach out to even more people who said, yes, I agree with you. There is no way the police can come to my house. And question 2 was, we find the magic thing that gets everybody arrested: drugs. Mm-hmm. So if you get body plus drugs, do you go to jail in this country?
If you are a black person or a person
even this is drugs, but they love arresting people for drugs in this country. So
but these 4 white individuals, per the NBC News, that were present during the time of shooting, they had drugs and all of that, and nobody was arrested. They weren't even arrested for the drugs in which they possessed within the house. Is that what you're telling me?
That I'm still telling you that would be number 2. So for the people that somehow didn't get arrested with the body in their front yard, now we have drugs that they're still avoiding arrest. Mm-hmm. Now we have weapons and ballistics, mm-hmm. both registered and unregistered. So we have the guns, mm-hmm. we have drugs, we have a body, and we've got
arrested. Well, James, I want to tell you, I am so excited that you reached out to our show. I'm so excited that you wanted to be on our show so that your voice could be seen, so that your story could be shared, be seen, be heard, be human. And so with that being said, I want everybody, this is serious. This is serious. And this is very urgent. And so with that being said, I want you to contact James. Give them your email again, James, so that they know who to contact and how that they can be a positive influence on this march for justice for Peter Bernardo Spencer.
Absolutely. Please reach out to me at J, the letter J, just by itself, moves, MOVES, people at gmail.com. Let me know where you are, what you need, or how you're trying to be of service. We will definitely call you back on either side of the road. We don't even care. We're just trying to get your voice heard. So like I said, I don't want to say this is my movement at all. So I've said for them, this is our movement. Mm-hmm. This is our time to start the ball of wax, to start the wheels of justice for this man's family. Yeah. Because in too many cases, unfortunately, I already know the sign I'm going to Venango County with is why does justice mm-hmm. for us take all of this? Mm-hmm. Take me bringing everyone to Venango County with me. Take us marching for Ahmaud Arbery to get you to prosecute that case. Yeah. Same thing in Trayvon Martin's case. Mm-hmm. Why does justice for us?
We have to provide the action in order for justice to take place.
Yeah, and it still doesn't, like I said, and I hate that I have to say it, it still doesn't guarantee we're going to get justice.
And you're correct. But like you said, in order to bring awareness, and in order to let people know what's going on, and even get in touch with people that know what's going on, that are angry about it, that you need to be here. You need to be here. But once again, James, we thank you for being on The Truth Will Not Be Silenced. We will have you back to do a follow-up on the march and give us all of the happenings at the march and post the march. With that being said, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you so much for allowing me to have my voice aired. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. Next week, we'll continue to discuss controversial topics about race and have conversations about personal and professional experiences with racism, loss, employment, and education. Stories that need to be shared, seen, and heard that makes us human. The truth will not be silenced. To be seen, to be heard, to be human. The surprise. Following the link in the show notes lets Buzzsprout know we sent you and help support our show. Buzzsprout is the best way to launch a professional podcast. Want to ask a question, be a guest, or subscribe to this podcast, The Truth Will Not Be Silenced? Click the show link. Thank you for joining us today.